Hey, and this week we're going to be starting out with the story Unbound Deathlord Corruption, Unbound Deathlord series book number 3, written by Edward Castle. It is 736 pages, a massive tome of a novel, $5.99. It's available on Kindle Unlimited. Here's the author's description. With great corruption comes great power. Jack is pretty sure that's the way the saying goes. That's a good thing, too, for the war in Ter'nodril, which he'd hoped would spell the beginning of the end for DIR, instead left him corrupted, body and soul. The good news is that the Fallen had used the Blight that now fills his veins as a weapon in their war against the gods themselves, so he's sure that he can find a way to use it to destroy Valia Online once and for all. He even knows exactly who will test its power against first, Manhart, as he must answer a question he's wanted to ask since they first met. What sound would the lich make when he's dying? Okay, that's honestly not the best description of the story. It does give you a super abbreviated synopsis plus essentially the book goals, and it does fulfill those goals. But there's a lot more to the story than that. I first should disclose, I received advance copy for review. I purchased a copy when it became available. And there are some issues with this story. Right off the bat, it's been a super long time since book number 2 came out, about 2.5 years. And so that gap between book 2 and book 3 for a lot of readers has had a major drop off. If I'm looking at both the reviews for book number 1 and 2 and comparing them to number 3, I think I'm the only review right now for this novel. Part of that might be because it's so long, people are just taking time to get through. Part of it so might be that there's been a readership drop off, and that's unfortunate because this is a very entertaining story. And even though in my brain I completely forgot what the plot is in the story, I always have fond memories of books 1 and 2 in the series in my mind. I remember thinking, oh, these are really good stories. And when I started book 3, it was a little hard to get into it until I basically read there's a nice little recap section where I'm like, oh yeah, the author definitely was nice enough to get me a recap. Otherwise I'd be told else I don't know if I like this anymore. But because of the recap, and it's just so nicely done, I was just super on board. It's oh yeah, that's right. That's why I like the story. That's why I like this character. This is what he's doing. Let's get going on this novel and have a good time with it. And it's definitely what ended up happening. I actually think the recap is nice enough that you could just jump into book 3 and you're not going to feel like you missed out on a super life if you're just joining the series. The story itself is still very slice of life, with a lot of crunchy details that I personally enjoy, like a lot of character sheets or a lot of descriptions. The actual notifications themselves have been modified a little bit, with the explanation, oh, the game's taken over the government, so of course, there are going to be patch updates. And I like the reasoning because it just made everything really smooth and cut out a little bit of the clutter, but also a slightly better explanation of where stats are awarded and how they affect things, and better descriptions for spells or abilities, without bogging things down, at least for me. The story itself continues on this plot of revenge. This time the main character using the blight he was infected with in the last novel as a resource to complete that revenge, and taking every resource he can, whether it's players or a clan that isn't starting in this novel or any of the other resources. And in the story, there's some interesting twists that I actually liked. At one point, the main character is supposed to be corrected so much in a couple of months, he's going to lose control of his character. So he's taking a huge number of risks and kind of writing checks he never intends to cash, with his character. And it was an interesting journey in the story to see exactly how he's exploiting that to get resources and powers and abilities and this clan essentially, so that he can go with the bang and kind of try to get the revenge that he's looking for. But he still has a bunch of obstacles, including NPC armies looking to bind him because he's one of the corrupted, vampires looking for revenge, other player clans looking for revengers to cash in the bounty on his head. Excuse me. And it was just, that's kind of what the story is. And that's, again, very slice of life. And the main character just kind of going through these situations and getting his revenge, and with the big goal of the story in finally trying to kill Mana. And that's not spoilery, it's in the novel description, so I don't feel bad about talking about it. But it's again, slice of life, entertaining, but again, good fights, good descriptions there. On the game mechanic side of things, very much still an MMO style approach to the storytelling and game mechanics. Again, with some patch notes, kind of making the descriptions easier to understand. There is a new section of mechanics for the clan situation, where like they're doing larger battles. The main character is recruiting people to a clan to help him assist in his plans and goals, which I'm not going to specify. And overall, it's just that's kind of the update there. Overall, entertaining story. Really had a good time with this show. Again, I think part of the reason the story isn't doing quite as well is that it's been a while since the story, book 2 came out, and so you lose some readers in a couple of years, in 2.5 years, and that's unfortunate because this is still an entertaining series and it's a great value for your buck. For me, I had a good time with it. The story flew by, even with almost 750 pages here. And this main character is still smart. He's thinking, he's plotting, he's finding his way out, and he's using every single exploit he can and to build a character and to get his revenge. So it's still good stuff. I super loved. I really did enjoy the last twist of this story. I'm trying not to spoil it. I'm thinking, I'm like, wow, this changes a lot. This changes everything, or as far as the perspective of the story. I liked it a lot. Skits' score 7.8 out of 10 for me. Not quite great, just because, again, it's still the same characters. It's still the main... it's been a little bit for me. But still, very entertaining. Really thought it was a really good story. 7.8 out of 10 for me. Unbound Deathlord, Corruption. Third book in the series with the score, again, 7.8 out of 10.